May these words that I speak be grounded in my soul, encouraged by the God presence in me. And may these words that you hear be captured by your soul, enlivened by the God presence in you. Amen. Easter Sunday is the most important Sunday of the church year. It is also supposed to be the reason the Christian church even exists. Around the world today, ministers, pastors, priests, and more than a few lay folk will be preaching about resurrection. Ironically, the messages preached will not in any way suggest that there is a singular understanding of our central tenet. It's why we have 39,000 different denominations. How could it be that the very heart of our religion is what pulls us apart? And it does. You see, in every place of worship today, including here, the belief about the resurrection of Jesus some 2,000 years ago will take many forms. Some will believe that Jesus' corpse was resuscitated. He walked around for a bit and then was heaven-bound. Others will believe that Jesus' divine essence took a new form, like a thick angelic light here on earth before joining the great light. Still others will believe Jesus' body wasn't resurrected at all, but that his divine spirit became embodied in some of his followers. And others will say that resurrection is not about Jesus at all, but is about the power of love over death. And so as love was embraced after his death, new life or resurrection was experienced. Or how about Jesus was executed, and resurrection only happened when his followers took up his cause of love? I could go on and on and on and on with all the various slants on how to believe in this. And I have no appetite for trying to determine the right belief for what might have actually happened then. Particularly given the fact that even the gospel story that we have, the 4 versions that we have, and there were many more, are all different one from another. Different characters, different events, different ways of understanding it. So I would like to suggest that each of you need to believe what you want to believe about Jesus' resurrection. But don't do it blindly. Hold to your belief instead because you have thought deeply and soulfully about it, and that belief then makes a difference in how you live in this world. But today, Easter 2017, I want to plead a very different case for resurrection. I want Easter to become not just a celebration of a resurrection that happened 2,000 years ago, but that it also becomes a celebration of our own and our communal resurrections, some that have already happened and some that are yet to happen. Obviously, I'm not talking about our own resurrection from physical death, because none of us would be here to talk about that. But rather, I'm inviting you to identify the reality of resurrection after other kinds of death have occurred in your life. This is not to diminish in any way what you believe about the empty tomb or about Jesus' apparent appearances to his disciples following his death. I am just not interested in spending one more Easter trying to find the single elusive truth there. The truth I know, however, and where I want to focus today, is on my own experience of resurrection, both personally and as part of this community. This way of approaching resurrection is actually inspired by the mission of Jesus, as I understand it. His mission, as short as it was to help his fellow humans understand and embrace their connection with God. Jesus recognized that a person's relationship with God is personal and intimate, that the God presence dwells within us. He challenged every single person he met to move from mere worship of God to opening to that Spirit that was already there. This is why he said, "I am in God, and God is in me." He was trying to capture the importance of that direct connection with Spirit that is available to all of us. He knew, despite most of what religion was saying, that God is already in each of us. Jesus' followers wanted to set him apart as the new Messiah, and all the while, Jesus was encouraging them to be like him. "You will do even greater things than I have done," is what he's reported to have said from Matthew. He also said, "God is not a God of the dead, but of the living." This suggests to me that Jesus' first resurrection, his first resurrection, happened long before he was executed. He found new life in this life when he opened to the power of the Spirit of love within. It changed his life. It provoked his mission. And so I make my case for resurrection not from imagination or speculation, but from my own personal lived experience. You see, my friends, I died when I was about 12 years old. It was at that point in my life as a young boy that I began to recognize that I was gay. And it was 1968 in small town Northern Ontario. The cultural message then was that being gay was evil, sinful, and perverted. Anything but normal. And so as a 12-year-old, I closed down, closeted in fear. I died. My life for the next 20 years would be the walking dead. Oh, I did all the things I was expected to do. I married, I had children, I was successful in my work life, I bought a house, I was active in my local United Church. But the real me was buried, entombed, lifeless. And my soul ached all the way into painful, painful depression. My solution? Become a minister. It's not unusual for those of us needing care to feel a call to a caring profession. It happens all the time. It's not always wise. But it turned out to be a catalyst for rolling away my stone. By my second year of theological training, I knew, not just in my mind, but in my heart and my soul, that I could not be a good minister if I could not become my true self. I experienced resurrection. Painful at first, but ultimately profoundly life-giving. Love flowed in me and through me for the first time in a real way in over 2 decades. My soul unfolded its fragile wings and began to fly. What a gift. You see, my dear friends, resurrection is very real. For it was the power of the God presence, the spirit of love that flows in me and in you and in us and in all of this wondrous universe that brought me from death to new life. I want to further make my case for resurrection by talking a little about my experience of this beautiful, incredible community right here. An experience which I know many of you also share. It is nearly 6 years since I was called to be with you here. 6 years that has been both gift and blessing to me. This gathered community, which has seen people come and go in our time together, is truly, truly spirit-filled. But I remember the anxiety in many of you, the restrained hope in others, and the tentative optimism as well, wondering what our relationship might be. You had come through a considerable time of challenge and uncertainty, particularly around relationships with clergy. And as I began to work at building relationship, I knew that in some ways there was a diminished sense of community here. There was life, but not fully embraced. Although less obvious than my personal version of Walking Dead, I had a sense that communal life could be much, much better, much richer. And just look at us now. Look at you now. Together we have opened more fully to each other. There is a spirit of commitment, of support, and of deep love that permeates our coming together. Nearly every Sunday, I can feel that spirit connecting us, bringing us to a higher resonance, to where it is often palpable. I can feel it right now. This too is resurrection. There is no denying it. It is that same God presence, that spirit of love that flows in and through and among us that has brought us to new life. Resurrection is real. Right here, right now. This is what all of us need to hold through the days, the months, and the years ahead. As I begin my time of sabbatical, I look forward to having the spaciousness to see more clearly where our journey together has brought us, and also to be open to co-creating with you the journey forward. I leave for a time knowing that you will be well cared for, that you will continue to be encouraged and supported spiritually by Bob. And I also know that you have the capacity, the commitment, and love for each other to be way more than fine. My hope, even my expectation, is that I will return in August to hear new stories of the Spirit at work. Each one of them a new case for resurrection. Amen.